Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have more fun, especially the more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman, and I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. I have David Peters with me today, and he's from Construction Clock. My guess is that's what Construction Clock does, but maybe you can explain to David what it does and who you are.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much, Paul, for having me on. My name is David Peters, and I am the founder of Construction Clock, which is a fully automated time tracking app for construction businesses. And so, as a 20-year contractor myself, I know the pain points of having multiple crews and managing those crews, and then trying to collect everyone's timesheets at the end of a pay period. And my biggest pain point was I couldn't find a solution for it myself. And I spent years looking for something that worked. And finally, we decided to build it. And so over the last 2 years, we've built the greatest time tracking app for the construction industry. And the reason for that is because it's fully automated. So you as an owner, you download our app. You set up your company, you add your employees, you add projects, and you set geolocations around those projects, however big or small you want them. And then when your employees enter that geofence, they don't need the app open. The app just needs to be on their phone. It automatically clocks them in. They never need to open the app, anything like that. It clocks them in the morning, and if they go to another site, it clocks them out of there. It tracks travel time in between sites. And so at the end of the day, it shows an itinerary of your day. It automatically reduces for unpaid breaks, and it automatically adjusts for overtime. You can set overtime. We're just launching that feature now. And so it is a incredibly automated time tracking app that just works how you expect it to work. And the best part about it is I built it extremely simple. So I could have pretty much anybody use it. Doesn't matter how technology inclined you are or not.
Okay, so a couple of questions. So if I've got a guy who decides to take a trip down to Home Depot to pick up a part, is it going to track him from the job to Home Depot and back? How's that work?
Yeah, so if you set up the project and they leave to go to Home Depot and you haven't set up a project around Home Depot, it'll just track that as travel time. So it takes 45 minutes to go to Home Depot and back. It'll just set that as travel time. And we are adding the feature of being able to assign that travel time to that project, which we're coming out with soon. But some of our customers actually they have 3 or 4 vendors that they always pick stuff up at. So they set up projects at those vendors, and they know exactly why that person left
So
site.
we know he went to Home Depot not to buy a cup of coffee, for example.
Exactly.
Okay. So if you have like Home Depot and Lowe's and your supply house, you can set those up also. So you can say, oh, he went there, he went back. He spent 30 minutes there or an hour there, whatever he spent waiting in line at Home Depot or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it does a way better job of just like tracking where people are in a day. And the one area where we kind of held off is the breadcrumbing of employees throughout the entire day. It becomes so invasive into their lives to just constantly be tracked all the time, as well as it uses more battery and uses more data. So we decided a happy medium between automation and privacy was we track the projects when you and we track those projects during working hours. So if you work Monday through Saturday from 7 till 5, that phone tracks when you entered projects and leave projects, and it does a incredibly good job of that. As the owner, you can get push notifications on your phone saying, John clocked into the Nelson project at 7:05 a.m. And so you kind of have a live view of what's happening inside your company and your employees.
Now, question, do you ever get any pushback from the employees that's invading their privacy at all?
That's typically question number 1 or 2. usually employees are asking, how much data is this using? And how much is it tracking? And we make it very clear to owners, we're tracking the project. When an employee enters that project, that's what we're tracking. We're tracking the geofence around the project. We're not tracking the employee and where they're going throughout the day. And so you as an owner have control over where you're setting up projects. And so if you're setting one at head office, at all the projects, and then maybe at all the supply houses, that's what you're tracking. And your employees during those working hours are required to show up on time, work on specific projects that you send them to, and privacy around that, I would say, is always the number one issue, but it's never something that we're worried about, because we're not trying to act as Big Brother, but we are trying to make things more accurate on the labor side.
Well, I remember in the old days, guys would fill out the time cards manually at the end of the week, right? And try to guess what their times were, which is not too good.
Yeah.
I imagine some people are still doing that, where they fill out the time card in the week and the guy guesses when he showed up and when he left, and who knows, right?
Yeah. We've gotten a tremendous amount of great feedback from company owners that they will say to us, we've been looking for an app like this for years, and because they went from paper timesheets to maybe a manual clock-in app, but it's still you can manipulate it, and usually people are waiting till the end of the week to fill it out. And if you expect people to manually clock in and clock out, the amount of times that people forget to do that live in the field, I showed up, now I got to remember to pull up my phone and clock in. That's the thing that we've completely eliminated. And that's what company owners really appreciate, is just kind of we've cut out all of that inefficiency.
Now, question, is there a language issue, or if I just speak Spanish, it doesn't matter?
We have a Spanish mode in our app. So if you go, I think when you set up the app, you can select Spanish mode right off the bat. So our two biggest markets are English and Spanish. And so I think French will probably be next, because we're a Canadian company and we have a bunch of people in Eastern Canada that use our app. So.
Okay. So there are apparently some other competition out there. What do you consider your competition, and why are you better?
Yeah, so if you go to the App Store, you can find a million time tracking apps. There's no shortage of time tracking apps. Why are we better? We're called Construction Clock. We focus on the construction industry only. We're project based, and we're the only ones to do automated time tracking this well. There's some other apps that might have the feature to turn on that it automatically clocks them in. We have perfected automated time tracking, and I encourage people, oftentimes when people are trialing our app, we do a 2-week free trial. I encourage them to try our app with one crew, and then maybe try another app they're interested in with a competitor's app and with another crew. And it's incredible. We always win those battles because we're super easy to use. It takes 3 seconds to set up a new project, and our app works all the time. It does an incredible job of we have customers in Northern Canada and the internet is really bad. It's still caching that information onto your phone and uploading it. It does a really good job. And so we're confident.
So I mean, you don't need Wi-Fi access. You just need even G3, or obviously G5 works. So your phone just has to be connected, like you can make a phone call, right?
Not even. It's using your phone's GPS, and your GPS is not reliant on a data source. So if you took a phone that didn't have internet, it would still cache that information onto the phone. And then when you get into Wi-Fi, when you go home late at night, it would upload all of that. So it's still working even when there's little to no internet.
So is this using like the wireless side or the Wi-Fi side?
It's using neither. It's using the GPS on your phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your
And
GPS works, it works, right?
that's right. It's constantly. That's why if you're in airplane mode and you go to Google Maps, it'll still pull up your location. I've been in an airplane before, and I'm on airplane mode, and I go and it still pulls up my GPS location, so that it pulls that signal, and so it works. It works regardless.
Okay. So it's working all the time. What have you found the biggest obstacles for people implementing your system?
The biggest obstacle would be employee buy-in. And so as companies get larger, you've got to get everybody on your team bought into this. And so typically what we do is when a company's trialing this app is they will get one or two crews to use the app. And then it typically works incredibly well for 5, 10, 15, 20 employees. When you get up to 50, 60 employees, you run into issues of like, not everybody has a smartphone. There is some level of employee pushback from people that just either don't want to set up an app like ours onto their phone. So we find that our sweet spot is 2 to 20 employees. We have employees with we have companies with 150 employees, and those we've had to physically go down there and basically get everybody onboarded in person, because it's an entire process.
Right. Now, what about, I don't work with union companies, but is that ever an issue?
We have a few companies that are unionized, and we have yet to deal with any issues in that regard. I'm guessing that will probably be something that we run up against in terms of employee privacy and things like that. But our target customer is guys like me who ran a small construction outfit with 12 employees, and we're looking for a better way to track their time. So we've yet to face any sort of adversity from that.
Now, question, what about, I'm thinking of companies that you get some employee pushback, because it's just either an all or nothing, right? Everybody has to do it. Another question I have, does this tie, let's say I've got a carpenter, a superintendent, project manager, and a laborer. They're all different labor rates, right?
Yeah.
They go on off the job. Does this calculate labor rates at all, or is it just time?
Yeah. So you put their hourly rate in there into each employee. It's optional, but you can do it. You can put their hourly rate in there. You can set a role for them. So they're either a laborer, a supervisor, a manager, or an owner. And so when you export, when you run a report, it will do a breakdown of all the hours and what the labor cost you on a specific project.
This drops into what, an Excel spreadsheet kind of thing?
Yeah, so we export in 3 different ways, either Excel or a PDF or directly into QuickBooks.
Okay, so if you're using QuickBooks, you can drop your labor costs straight into QuickBooks from here,
Yep.
right?
Yep, you just link, you go into settings and you link the 2 accounts together. And then when you're going to run payroll, you export directly into QuickBooks and it just syncs it up. So all you have to do is go to QuickBooks and run payroll from there. It's pretty simple.
Okay, and it calculates. And you said you're getting something, not if overtime's an issue, but if overtime, you can figure that out too in the future, something like that.
Yeah, I think we're launching overtime in the coming weeks. And so you'll just set either a daily, we pay overtime after 10 hours a day, or we pay overtime after 44 hours a week, whatever, and you can adjust that. And then once you meet that threshold, it'll just break out everybody's timesheet of regular pay and overtime pay.
Has anybody ever said, oh, I forgot my phone at home?
So the reason that really doesn't work is because I don't think anybody forgets their phone anymore. It might have been an excuse 10 years ago, but like, I don't know of anybody that leaves their phone at home. Yeah, I mean, yes, it could be an excuse. And then in our app, the owner or the manager can go and manually input time for that day. And so we have workarounds for all of this stuff. Somebody's phone dies on site. Okay, let's just go and edit their time. Somebody leaves their phone at home. Good. So we'll just go and add some time in for them. It's not the end of the world.
Okay. And this assumes all employees have smartphones, but I think that's pretty true these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting awfully close. And as we, if we go and onboard a 50-person company, there's always going to be a couple guys that pull out these giant flip phones out of their pockets. But in our app, in those scenarios, you can add non-app employees. And so they don't have the app on their phone, and then somebody can manually manage their hours for them, so that for a company that has a couple of flip phone users or somebody that doesn't have a phone, this can still be a solution for them, and then they just do the manual inputs for those employees.
I was looking at statistics. I think there's more phones in the world than there are people, so I don't think it's.
Yeah. I would think
Now,
that
question, there would be an issue here, like I've got my phone and a company phone. I just have my phone. So it's gonna go on my phone, right? In most cases.
yeah, that's right.
And I have said, well, why do I have to put this app on my phone? And you can say, well, if you're gonna work for me, you got to put this app on your phone because it allows me to know where you are and be able to track your time, right?
That's right. So the way that I look at this is when I got my first construction job, when I got hired, they said, look, you're going to come to work with some steel toes, a hard hat, your tool pouch, your PPE. I would say that when you're working for a small construction business, it's not a stretch to say like, hey, this is how we track time. It's not going to take up any more data than like going to Instagram once or twice a day. So it's not a very high bar to ask somebody to do this to track their time.
Right. And obviously, if you supply a company phone, there's no issue.
Exactly. Yeah. So it depends what the company owner wants to do in those situations.
Okay. So how many companies you tried this out with? Just curious.
Thousands at this point.
Okay.
We're kind of global now. Our main market is the US, and then secondary is Canada. And so we focus on those. We have customers in Australia and in the UK. But we're everywhere in the US now. It's amazing. We have this giant map, and we're kind of all over the US, and it works in all types of sectors of the construction industry, from road construction, excavation, all the way to carpentry. And so we're pretty confident that at this point, if you're a construction company and you have between 1 and 99 employees, we can be a really good fit for you.
Okay. And now, obviously, what does this cost?
So we have, I'll basically say this first. What I hated about construction software, or even kind of any software, is I had to do a demo to go see it, and I didn't know what the price was. We have no contracts. We charge $10 per employee per month. There's no setup fee. There's no monthly minimum. If an employee leaves halfway through the month, we only charge for part of that month. So it's like as transparent a pricing as it is. So if you're a company with 5 employees, it's $50 a month, and you can cancel anytime you want. You can reduce your staff. You can increase your staff. So it's very user friendly from that standpoint.
And so, if people, this makes a lot of sense to me because I know I've been in construction a long time, and people lose thousands of dollars a month because people don't track their time for
Correct.
2 reasons. One is they don't track their time, so they can't bill the client, or the client or the person forgets, right, what they spend. People's memories aren't that great. So what happens is, I'm sure you lose thousands a month just not tracking people's time because you can't bill their time to the client if you have time on the clock and that kind of stuff. So I can see this pay for itself very quickly.
Yeah.
But when I get in touch with you, David, how do they do that?
So the easiest way to get in touch with us is go to constructionclock.com. You can book a demo with me. I'll take you through the entire app. You don't even have to book a demo. You can download the app right from the App Store. Just search Construction Clock in the App Store. You can create an account. You can try it out for 2 weeks for free, or you can find us on any social media. We have a bunch of videos on exactly what the app does and what the app doesn't do. And so check us out on Instagram and Facebook. I think our handle is at Construction Clock app. So
Okay, cool. Or they can just go on your to constructionclock.com and book an appointment, right?
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, I mean, this is a winner for everybody. I don't think, my guess is most people listening to this podcast do not do a great job of tracking the time of their employees because it's too complicated. Anything that the employee actually has to do makes it really hard. This employee doesn't have to do anything, which makes it easier to do. So thanks, David. I appreciate being with us. And I'm sure it's a great tool that we should all use.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for all of your listeners to try it.